Hey guys, new video, back again with another impressions video of a game I just finished, and that game is 3D Game Heroes on the PS3. Now this game, I got it not too long ago actually, I think in my last pickups video, which I don't do pickups videos that often, but I did have that in this video, or in that video, and it took me a while to start playing this, but I finally did, just beat it. It took me a little over 20 hours, which I was not expecting. I thought this was going to be a short game, but basically, this game, for those that do know what it is, you know how awesome this game is. If you've played it, or even if you've seen it in action, you know that it's a very charming game. It's a very interesting game. Developed by Silicon Studio, actually, who did Bravely Default. Believe it or not. A very different game from that, this one, 3D Game Heroes, but this is a fantastic game. If you have a PS3, you owe it to yourself to play this. Now, there's a bit of a disclaimer, though, with that. If you love Zelda, particularly old-school Zelda games and the original Legend of Zelda, you are going to love this. In fact, you've probably already played this if you do really love the original Zelda. What this game is basically a love letter to the Zelda games, the old school Zelda games, and it takes a lot. It's very influenced by those games, those Zelda games. In fact, this might as well be a Zelda game. It takes a lot of the same concepts, how you progress. A lot of the same items from the original Zelda are in here. The dungeons kind of feel the same. The overworld feels the same. Even some of the music in this game is very similar. But it feels like its own thing. It's a lovingly crafted game. It doesn't feel like a ripoff. And it knows how Zelda succeeded, and it doesn't take those elements and ruin them. It takes those elements and is able to take those elements and it's just as good as in Zelda. Okay, well, not quite to the level of that Nintendo would do it, but and granted, there are some flaws with this game, and I'll get to them, but as like a Zelda clone, if you will, this is excellent. Very, very, very fun game. We'll start with the story. There's not really much to say. You're in the land of Dotnia. You're kind of the hero, and you have to defeat a dark bishop that's planning to take over the world. There's a bit more to it than that, but you're not playing this game for the story. It's an old school video game. It's trying to be like those old school video games where there wasn't much of a story, and this game kind of just starts you off right away with hardly any introductions. You're just immediately left to your own devices in this open world, and you just go for it. Explore the world. Now, generally, you'll have waypoints on the map showing you where the next location you're supposed to be going to is, but that's about it in terms of direction. The story is very simple. It's nothing fancy, but it's not intrusive. It doesn't get in your way, and it's pretty charming too at times. There's a lot of humor in the story, and a lot of the characters you meet are all pretty funny. There's a lot of great writing in this game, but the story itself, yeah, it's nothing special. But that's not why you'd play this game. Visuals. This is where this game stands out. This game has got one of the most striking art styles I've ever seen in a game. It's basically, imagine like Zelda, it's like an overhead view, but it's all in 3D, and it's every character, every part of the environment, all of it is made out of tiny little blocks. And it's really bright, it's really colorful, and the background has like this blurriness effect to it, where it kind of becomes less blurry as you kind of go further into the background. It looks a bit jarring at first, but you start to get used to it. This visual style it's amazing. It looks so good on like an HD TV. I don't know, I've never seen a visual style like this before, and it fits this game perfectly, and it gives this game a sense, a personality that I really loved. The visuals are just top notch. Music is really good. It's very old school. Some of it can be maybe a bit repetitive, and a lot of songs borrow quite heavily from songs I've heard in other video games. But they're all wonderful. One song in particular I fucking loved. It's the song that plays in like the wind area, the wind canyon type area. It's an amazing song. The first time I heard it, I was just like, holy shit, this song is like one of my all-time favorites already. It's really catchy, really upbeat, but one of my favorite songs in the game, but a very, very nice soundtrack. I really like the sounds, or the songs in this game. But yeah, presentation-wise, it's stellar, this game. Gameplay. Like I said before, it's a lot like Zelda. The dungeons, you kind of go from dungeon to dungeon in this overworld. You find the key item there, and you know these items help you solve puzzles. A lot of the items here are from old other Zelda games. Like you've got a hook shot, you've got your boomerang, you've got other stuff like that. You've got magic though in this game, which is not really in Zelda games, where you have like magic that will slow time down, magic that will allow you to reflect shots off enemies. Now, all the items in Zelda games you'd use in combat situations often, as well as in puzzles. In this game, you're basically using the items for puzzles. Magic you'll have to use in combat, but the items themselves are used for puzzles in the dungeons in the overworld. The dungeons themselves are a lot like Zelda 1's dungeons. They feel very similar to that. They're not complex like later Zelda games, not even Link to the Past complex. They're pretty simple, but they're quite lengthy too. Basically going room to room. You've got some vertical, there's like vertical like floors, like up and down. But they're very simple. They're probably, in terms of gameplay, my least favorite part of the game. They're good, they're well designed. There's just probably a bit too much block pushing for my tastes, and I found myself kind of being annoyed with some of the rooms that were in this game. This game's pretty challenging, I gotta say. I wasn't expecting it. It's nothing compared to like the original Zelda, but I definitely had some trouble with this game. The overworld stuff I found really refreshing and really fun. And similar to Zelda, you'll collect heart pieces, there's magic to power yourself up. But there's all these side quests and all these characters to find and puzzles to solve on the overworld. And it's crazy the amount of side content here. I didn't do very much. Well, I felt like I did a lot of it, but there's still so much I'm missing. You kind of need a guide to get the most out of this game. I gotta admit, a lot of it's very obscure what you're supposed to do in all that situations, kind of like old school NES games. But I found that stuff like really fun, really engaging. The combat kind of plays like Zelda, where you have your sword. But it plays a bit differently too, because the interesting thing with this game is you have weapons, tons of swords. They each have like strength levels, and you can upgrade them at like a blacksmith in one of the towns in the game. There's also items, of course. You've got empty bottles where you can fill it with red potions to heal your health. It's very similar to Zelda, but the weapon system is different, and the general combat's kind of different. Where you have weapons, but you can upgrade their length and width. And if you're at full health, your sword can like cover the entire screen, and you can swipe away at enemies like that are super far away from you. It's very comical, but very funny and very interesting. Where if you can slash in 4 directions, right? But if you slash and then hold the analog stick in like a left, right, or a left, right, or down, left, down, right kind of direction, you can kind of swing your sword sideways. And you got to use that to your advantage to take care of enemies that maybe might block from the front at all times. And I found this kind of added a bit of strategy to the combat. It made it feel a bit different than Zelda would. And the weapon upgrading system is completely different than what you'd see in a Zelda game. You have a bow and arrow and bombs as well that you can upgrade by getting like bomb sacks and bow upgrades by like throwing money into a well. There's lots of references to other games in this, from Zelda to even Demon Souls, because From Software published this game. And I thought that was awesome. Well, actually, Atlas published it in the US, but in Japan, From Software published it. So there's Demon Souls references. What I really got a kick out of those. There's just a lot of fan service in this game for people that love old school video games, and I was just completely. It's a charming game from start to finish. It's so enjoyable. It's so fun. And as far as gameplay, there's not really much else to speak of. It's, if you've played Zelda, you know what you're getting into here, but I think there's enough that's different here. You got dash boots too. If you hold square, you can do the dash like in Link to the Past. It's very much like Zelda. If you enjoy Zelda, you'll love this. So yeah, a short discussion. I guess if I had any flaws with it, like I said before, some of it's kind of annoying, and I will say the controls are a bit stiff, so sometimes I found myself getting hit in situations where I felt like I shouldn't have maybe gotten hit. And you have to be pretty precise with your sword attacks, and I don't know, it was maybe a bit too stiff for my liking. Like, the controls are kind of iffy. They take a little to get used to. Also, the frame rate can be pretty pretty bad in spots, especially towards the end of the game when they throw a lot of shit at you in these dungeons. But yeah, it's a great game. Definitely pick it up. I think it's around like 10 to 20 bucks. It's not even that expensive. So yeah, definitely a must-own PS3 game. 3D Dot Game Heroes, was very impressed with it. Glad I was able to finish it before South Park came out, which comes out Tuesday here. I can't wait to dive into that game. That's going to be a really fun one. But anyways, guys, that will do it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.